This is definitely not the kind of video I was planning on making today, but when I came across this, it hit me as so outrageous that I couldn't ignore it. It almost felt unreal, and yet it's happening right now in California. I had to sit down and share this with you because it's the kind of thing that makes you shake your head and wonder how anyone thought this was a good idea. We're talking about concealed carry restrictions that go far beyond what most people would expect, and the details are unbelievable. California has always had a complicated approach to concealed carry. For decades, the entire system operated under what was called May issue. That meant local sheriffs had the power to decide who could get a permit and who could not. In some counties, you had a fair chance if you applied. In others, like Los Angeles, your chances were nearly zero, no matter how good your background or how serious your need. It was a patchwork across the state, confusing and inconsistent. Riverside might approve, Los Angeles would deny, and it all came down to who your sheriff was. That all changed after the Supreme Court's Bruen decision in 2022. That case forced California to move from may issue to shall issue. In practice, it meant sheriffs could no longer say no just because they felt like it. They had to set objective standards, and if you met them, you were entitled to a permit. For the first time in decades, many Californians could apply and realistically expect approval. It was a big shift. But here's the problem. Even under shall issue, counties still control what firearms are approved and what features are allowed. Most of us expect background checks, training requirements, maybe even limits on how many firearms you can list on a permit. That's fairly standard. But one county has taken things much further, imposing rules that are not only unusual, but in my opinion, counterproductive. Their published list of prohibited firearms shocked me. To start with, they ban single-action only handguns. That's right, if your pistol requires you to manually cock the hammer before every shot, it's automatically disqualified. Historically, single-action revolvers are iconic, the old cowboy guns that helped define American history. They're not the most common concealed carry choice today, but banning them outright seems unnecessary. It doesn't stop there. The county also prohibits any semi-automatic handgun built on the Colt 1911 platform. Think about that. The 1911 is one of the most respected handguns in the world, designed by John Browning, adopted by the U.S. military more than a century ago, and still trusted today by law enforcement, competitive shooters, and ordinary citizens. The 1911 is known for accuracy, reliability, and stopping power. Yet here, if you carry one, you're told it's not acceptable. That's hard to wrap your head around.
And then there are derringers. These are small, pocket-sized pistols that date back to the 19th century. They're not common today, but some people still like them for deep concealment. This county says no. No derringers, no derringer-style variants, period. Again, it raises the question, what's the logic? These guns may not be mainstream, but banning them completely seems more about control than safety. All of this is spelled out on the sheriff's official website. These are not rumors, not proposals, not future plans. These rules are active and enforceable today. If you apply for a permit, you must comply. If you already have one and later modify your firearm in a way that violates these restrictions, you risk losing it. That's how serious this policy is. So here we are in 2025, with much of California moving forward under the post-Bruen framework, while this county clings to restrictions that defy logic. More than 1.2 million people live under these rules, and whether or not they even want to carry, the fact remains, if they do, their choices are severely limited. Imagine being told you can't use some of the most respected firearms in the country, not because of your record or your training, but simply because the sheriff doesn't approve. That's what I find so outrageous. It doesn't feel like a thoughtful safety measure, it feels arbitrary. Perfectly legal, safe tools are declared off-limits with no clear explanation. And as frustrating as all of this is, we're not even at the most unbelievable part yet. The part that really stunned me was reading through the section that addresses firearm accessories. It wasn't enough to ban certain models of pistols. This county went further and declared that firearms equipped with laser sights, tactical flashlights, or red dot optics are not acceptable. That is not a rumor, it is clearly written in their concealed carry licensing rules. The language is unambiguous. If your handgun has a laser sight, if it has a mounted flashlight, or if it has a red dot sight, it cannot be approved for a permit. Think about what that means in practice. These accessories are not gimmicks. They are tools designed to increase accuracy and improve safety. A red dot optic allows shooters to acquire targets more quickly and to maintain accuracy under stress, especially for those with aging eyesight or vision problems. A laser sight can give immediate visual feedback in close-quarter scenarios, reducing the chance of missed shots. A weapon-mounted flashlight is perhaps the most important of all, because it allows you to identify what you are aiming at in low light, helping prevent tragic mistakes where someone shoots without being sure of the target. These are safety devices at their core, yet this county decided they make firearms unacceptable.
Public safety should mean encouraging responsible practices. Every major law enforcement agency acknowledges that target identification is critical. Tragedies often occur when someone fires in the dark without confirming what is in front of them. Flashlights and optics address that exact problem. Removing those options does not make carry less dangerous. It makes it more dangerous. People are being forced to carry with fewer tools than they otherwise would, even though those tools are specifically designed to reduce risk. This is not speculation. On the Contra Costa County Sheriff's website, the wording is precise. Firearms with attached laser sights, flashlights, red dots, or similar sighting systems will not be accepted for licensing. It is an active, standing policy. The list of permitted firearms is narrow, while the list of prohibited configurations stretches longer than you would expect. Gun owners in the county have shared their experiences on forums like CalGuns, confirming that applications are rejected if these accessories are attached. Training companies that help residents qualify for CCW permits explicitly warn applicants to avoid bringing such equipment to qualification classes. Other counties in California take a different approach. In Los Angeles County, for instance, the process is strict and often slow, but they do not impose blanket bans on common sighting systems. Applicants may be required to qualify with the exact firearm they plan to carry, including any mounted optics or lights. But if they pass, the setup is allowed. The contrast is striking. Los Angeles has a population of over 10 million, yet it has not felt the need to prohibit red dots or flashlights. Contra Costa, with a population just over 1 million, decided those same tools are unacceptable. That inconsistency highlights how arbitrary these restrictions really are. The irony is that California already has some of the toughest firearm laws in the nation. The state mandates background checks, waiting periods, safety certificates, and registration of handguns. On top of that, concealed carriers undergo training, qualification, and a vetting process. By the time someone applies for a CCW, they are among the most vetted citizens in the state. To then strip away useful safety equipment feels backwards. It is as if the county is punishing those who are already following every rule to the letter. Residents under this jurisdiction have expressed frustration that the rules are written in such absolute terms. If someone buys a pistol that meets the requirements and later adds a red dot or installs a small rail-mounted light, that modification could invalidate the permit. Imagine investing in training, paying fees, waiting months for approval, only to risk losing everything because you decided a flashlight would help you see better at night. That is not hypothetical, it is the reality for more than 1 million people living in the East Bay.
This brings the conversation back to the larger principle. A concealed carry permit should ensure that those carrying firearms are trained, responsible, and law-abiding. It should not be a vehicle for arbitrary restrictions that make carry less safe. Denying people the ability to use equipment that promotes accuracy and proper identification undermines the very purpose of the licensing system. Responsible carriers want to hit only their intended target and nothing else. Denying them that capability doesn't serve the public, it only handicaps them. Fast forward to today, and those rules haven't just stayed in place, they've become a defining feature of how the county handles concealed carry. By 2025, these restrictions remain firmly in place, shaping how Contra Costa County handles concealed carry in a way that stands out even among California's already strict landscape. While other counties adjusted after the Supreme Court's Bruen decision, this one chose to tighten the screws further, keeping more than 1.2 million people under rules that eliminate many popular firearms and accessories. Bruen was intended to ensure ordinary citizens could exercise their right to carry without arbitrary denials. But here, the response has been to create new hurdles that undercut the spirit of that ruling. California already has some of the toughest firearms laws in the country. Ammunition sales require background checks, waiting periods apply, and handguns must appear on a state-approved roster. In March 2025, a federal appeals court upheld the state's ban on magazines holding more than 10 rounds, reinforcing limits that many gun owners already find restrictive. Against that backdrop, the additional bans in Contra Costa appear even more extreme. Residents face state-level rules and an added layer of local restrictions that go well beyond what lawmakers intended. The impact is discouraging. Potential applicants may decide not to seek a permit at all, knowing their firearm choices are heavily limited. Current permit holders hesitate to upgrade their equipment, fearing that even small changes could put them out of compliance. Instead of promoting continuous training and improvement, the county's policies effectively punish those who try to adapt to safer or more effective tools. This approach does not enhance security, it discourages responsible practices. Comparisons highlight just how unusual this stance is. San Diego and Orange counties, for example, require applicants to qualify with their chosen firearm. Once approved, accessories like red dots or lights are allowed if they were part of the qualification process. Sacramento follows a similar model, focusing on training and competence rather than banning gear outright. Even Los Angeles County, long known for its reluctance to issue permits before Bruen, does not prohibit red dots or lights outright. In contrast, Contra Costa has gone further than any of these larger jurisdictions, cementing rules that leave carriers stuck with the most basic setups.
The community consequences are not abstract. Over 1 million residents live under a policy that forbids them from using equipment designed to prevent mistakes. A father who wants a flashlight to identify threats in a dark parking lot cannot add one. A woman with weaker eyesight who relies on a red dot for accuracy is barred from using it. A lifelong fan of the 1911 platform is told it is unacceptable despite its century of proven service. These examples represent real compromises in safety and practicality. What makes the policy especially frustrating is that it only affects vetted, law-abiding citizens. Criminals do not apply for permits, submit to fingerprinting, or attend training courses. These restrictions fall solely on those who follow the rules. That contradiction makes it difficult to argue the bans are truly about public safety. They look more like an effort to limit concealed carry by any means available, regardless of the unintended consequences. Legal challenges continue across the state, focusing on sensitive place restrictions, magazine limits, and the handgun roster. Advocates argue that outright bans on optics and lights could also face judicial review in the future. If courts apply the logic of Bruen consistently, these local prohibitions may eventually be struck down as infringing on the right to bear arms. For the moment, however, residents of Contra Costa remain bound by them. The reason I bring this to your attention is simple. These rules matter. They affect real people trying to stay safe and compliant with the law. Denying responsible carriers the very tools that increase accuracy and ensure target identification does not protect the public. It undermines the idea of responsible self-defense. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Share your perspective in the comments and tell me if you think these bans make sense or if, like me, you see them as counterproductive. Over 1 million people are dealing with this right now, and their voices need to be heard.